Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to connect and use a simple GPIO push button with the quantum system. So let's get started. So there's basically two ways you can build this push button circuit with the quantum system. You can have it as pull up or pull down. So pull down is when you're not pressing the button, it's pulling to ground, and then pull up is when you're not pressing the button, it goes to power. So for the first circuit here, we're going to do the pull down circuit. And since we are using the quantum builder base, we can actually use the internal resistor in the builder base instead of having to add a 10K ohm resistor to our breadboard to do the pull down circuit. So the first thing we want to do is take a male-to-male jumper wire here. I'm going to connect that to one corner here on the push button. So I'm going to use the bottom left corner. And then I'm going to attach that to GP0 on the builder base. And then since we're using the internal resistor on the builder base for this button to pull to ground, the next wire I'm going to add is another male-to-male jumper wire. I'm going to pick an opposite corner here. I'm going to use the top right. There we go. And then I'm going to connect that to 3.3 volts. And that's how you do the pull down circuit with the quantum system. Now we're going to do the pull up circuit right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this green jumper wire here. I'm going to pick one corner. I'll do the bottom left corner again. And then I'm going to connect this to GP1. And again, since we're using the internal resistor of the builder base, the circuit's going to be pulling to power based on how we configure the firmware as the pull-up circuit. So next, we're going to use another male-to-male jumper wire here. We're going to go put in the opposite corner. And this one, we're going to connect to ground. So go ahead and put your ground terminal on the builder base, screw it in. So these are the two different circuits you can use with the quantum system. We have the pull-down circuit here, and then we have the pull-up circuit here. Again, this is how you wire it, and then you also have to do a configuration with the firmware file, which we're going to do next. So let's go ahead and go power on our builder base and go to our Q server to do the rest of the configuration. All right, now that we're on our Q server, let's go ahead and pair the builder base that we connected the push buttons to. So we're going to go to the clients tab, then we're going to go to unpaired, and then we're going to pair that builder base. All right, now that your builder base is paired, click the setup button. And then we're going to give this a name. I'm just going to name it buttons. And for the location, I'll just pick a random location. All right, now let's go over and create the firmware files. So go to the firmware tab, click create new. Just name this one buttons. And add a hardware to this. So I'm going to add button. Now for this one, I'm going to name it pull down, because I'm going to use this for the pull down button that we wired to the builder base. Click add hardware. And then we're going to add a second button. And this one will be for the pull up button that we wired to our builder base. All right, we're going to add that one. Now let's do the configuration. So for the pull down button here, for the driver, we're going to select GPIO. For the pin, I had that pull down button attached to GP0, so I'm going to select that one. For debounce, I'm going to select enabled. And for pin mode, this is where the difference is going to be made, whether it's going to be a pull up, pull down circuit, or floating, as you see here. So floating is if you want to use a resistor on the breadboard to do a pull up or pull down circuit. And since we're not doing that, we're not going to use floating, we're going to use these two. So for the pull down one, where it's going to GP0 and then the other side is going to 3.3 volts. I'm going to select that one. And for the pull up, same thing for the driver, GPIO. Pin, I'm going to select GP1. For debounce, I'm going to select enabled. And for pin mode, I'm going to select pull up. So this is the one where it's the green wire going to GP1, and then on the other side of it is a black wire going to ground. So I'm going to select that one and then click save. And then now we're going to go to the actions for that firmware file, and I'm going to upload that to our buttons builder base. So select the client, select buttons, and click upload. Now you don't have to do both push buttons, so you can pick which one works best for you, but I'm going to demonstrate how those triggered the LEDs differently later on, so that's why I'm going to do both. And then you can see I already have the LED firmware file made and uploaded to a different builder base with those LEDs, which you'll see later. But anyways, we're going to move on. We're going to go to the apps tab and create our application. And then we're going to click create new. I'll just name it buttons again. Click create. And then now we're going to bring out 2 hardware buttons here because that's what we're using. And then we're also, since like I said, I'm going to demonstrate with 2 different LEDs, I'm going to bring out those LEDs as well. So I'm going to bring out 2 hardware LEDs. There we go. And now we want to label this so it helps with the mapping process afterwards. So for this first button, hardware object, I'm going to click it, go to the object name, and then I'm going to name this one pull down, and then click save properties. And then for the second one, I'm going to name it pull up, and then I'll save it to properties. And then for this LED, so since the pull down button, I have a blue wire attached to the builder base for it. I'm going to use a blue LED on my breadboard on with a different builder base. So for this one, I'll just name it blue LED, just so we can coordinate how the circuits are connected, and then click save properties. And then for the pull-up circuit, I use the green jumper wire, so I'm going to use a green LED, and then so I'll name this one green LED, and then click save properties. Now we're just going to connect these objects together just like that, and that's your application. So now let's go ahead and save our app, and we're going to go to return to our apps, or return to my apps. And then for the buttons app, I'm going to click the play button. And this is where we're going to map our hardware objects to the different hardware we added to the firmware files. So for the first one, we're going to do the pull up button. We're going to select the pull up hardware device that we created in our firmware file. And then for the LEDs, I already created these. You didn't see how to do it. So if you do want to use an LED and don't know how to set it up, I'll have a video link in the video description below to show you how you can connect it to the push buttons and so forth. Anyways, so for the blue LED, I created a firmware file called blue pull down within the LED builder base. I'm going to select that one, and then for the green one, I'll do the green for pull up. And then for the pull down button, I'm going to select the pull down for the buttons client, and I'm going to select done. Now let's click save and run, and then show you guys how it works. All right, as you can see here, we have our pull down circuit, the blue wire, and then the other wire going to power, and then our pull up button, where it's the green wire to GP1, and then the black wire to ground on the other side. And then we have this pull up button coordinated to the green LED, and then the pull down button coordinated to the blue LED. So as you can already see, well, the green LED is already turned on when I'm not pushing the button, but then when I do push down on the button, the LED turns off. That's because it's the pull up circuit, so when I'm not pushing the button, it's pulling straight to 3.3 volts. So that's why it's powering that LED. But then once I complete the circuit by pushing down on the button, it's going to ground and it's turning off the LED. Now with the pull down circuit, it's opposite. So when I'm not pushing on the button, it's going to ground. So that's why the blue LED is not on. But then once I push down on the button, completes the circuit and goes to 3.3 volts, sends a signal, and then that blue LED turns on, just like that. So when I push it, blue LED turns on. For the pull down, the green LED turns off when I push down on it. So which one you want to use depends on what kind of project you're building and what you would like it to do. So that's why I demonstrated both scenarios here. So you can choose what you want to do in the future and for your projects. So that's pretty much how you connect and use a push button with the Quantum system. If you need some more information about push buttons, how they work, how to connect it with our system, or want to see some projects that we've done using push buttons in the past, go ahead and check the links in the video description below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.